You think all this can last? There's a storm coming, Mr. Wayne. You and your friends better batten down the hatches, because when it hits, you're all gonna wonder how you ever thought you could live so large and leave so little for the rest of us.
Welcome to Uncut Angling. I'm Aaron Weeb, and today we're talking about barotrauma. Now, I'm not a biologist, but I'm gonna do my best. I'm gonna get some water in the tank here for some demonstrations. We're gonna get some fishing here this week. And don't worry, we will be going fishing today. Ooh, that's dark. There we go. So a little better. We will be going fishing today. We'll be targeting the deepest crappies that we can find, doing our best to release them, giving you some tips on how you can release deep water crappies in the future, clearing up some misconceptions on barotrauma, maybe exposing some very poor science being done by our governments on barotrauma topics, which is threatening our angling rights. It's a little bit of a hot topic, but
when we start talking about science on this show, people love it.
Oh yeah.
You sound like you're looking forward to it.
I'm adaptable.
So this fish skeleton sinks because the actual fish matter is denser than water, just like a human would sink if it weren't for the air in our lungs. A fish doesn't have air trapped in its respiratory system, but it does have air in something called a swim bladder. And what a swim bladder allows a fish to do is remain neutrally buoyant so that it can chill in the water, swim in the water at ease. That little air pocket essentially always stays the same size, but when it's in deeper water, there is a lot more air in that air pocket to maintain that same size, because otherwise the pressure from the water would crush that air pocket. So it is pumped full with more air, but the overall size of the air pocket remains the same. I'm gonna demonstrate that by adding a swim bladder to this fish right now and achieving neutral buoyancy in the fish tank. Okay, I got it. That was not easy. That fish has the perfect amount of air in it to be neutrally buoyant at that exact depth. But if I push him down just a little bit more, this small change is all it takes for there to be enough compression on his swim bladder for him to start sinking, okay? Couple key takeaways here. The first is, if he's down there and he's comfortable and we bring him up in a fishing situation to the surface, its swim bladder begins to have less pressure on it and expand. He begins to float, which shows why it is hard for a fish to get back down to depth once it has been caught. The other key takeaway is the exact opposite, in the sense of when a fish starts swimming back down to the bottom, it gets easier and easier for it to get down there because its air bladder gets recompressed and it is not fighting against that big balloon inside of it anymore. So baro means pertaining to pressure. Trauma, self-explanatory. It is a stress, a strain, a disturbance, basically any discomfort. The main consideration always discussed with barotrauma is just that overinflated swim bladder and the fish not able to get down to depth. But there are many other aspects to it, including tissue damage, neurological damage, different things that would contribute potentially to delayed mortality. It does seem, though, if you can get the fish back in the water and it gets back down to depth, it has a very high survival rate. But there's so many unknowns, and that is why avoid fishing deep water and get the fish back in the water as fast as you can. Every time I've run into an issue with barotrauma personally, it's because I'm overhandling fish, I'm taking too many pictures, I'm making mistakes that are predictable, and I could avoid with the simple advice of just getting the fish back in the water.
Back in the water, 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 back in the water.
So 4 years ago, Angling Buzz tackles the deep water crappie topic with barotrauma, etc. And Angling Buzz, just to quantify, is linear media production, just to say high budget, high quality. So it's James Lindner and Jeremy Smith, and they're on, we're gonna call it Lake X in north central Minnesota. And there's two important aspects that they showcase and is kind of universal across fall and winter crappie fishing, is if you have depth mapping on a lake, you can immediately rule out 99% of the lake and just focus on the deepest basin, which often seems to be holding every single crappie in the lake. And the second thing is having electronics of any kind to show you where in the water column the fish are, because before we had good electronics, the tendency is to fish on the bottom, and you know if crappies are 5 feet up or 10 feet up or whatever, you're not going to be catching them. So they show that these crappies are 10 feet up, they're able to play video game style with these crappies. Well, getting to the messaging about barotrauma is they make it clear that the fish are pretty much going to die which isn't necessarily accurate, but I appreciate that it's erring on the side of caution. And the messaging in the video is catch your limit and stop fishing.
Anyway, when you do this basin crappie deal, whatever you catch, I don't care if it's a 6-inch crappie or if it's a 14-inch crappie, you're killing all of them. So catch what you want to eat, and then go look for something that's in the shallows and have some fun with that.
Probably the best thing to do. If there's so many unknowns, it's best to either stay away or to get what you're going to keep and get out of there. So I was pretty impressed with the video overall. And fast forward to a few weeks ago, once again, Angling Buzz is tackling the barotrauma topic, and this time partnered with the Minnesota DNR. They, as it turns out, go back to Lake X. And this time they're doing the research to basically show their suspicions that all these fish being caught out of 30 feet down over 40 feet of water are dying. Something that caught me off guard immediately when I'm watching this video is there is messaging coming across at the start of the video, throughout the video, and in the conclusion of the video about Livescope and forward-facing sonar being a concern.
It brings up a lot of the increasing use of these forward-facing sonars.
So I think this is going to be a great deal for the future of crappie management. Like you said, forward-facing sonar makes this once big mystery really quite simple. But now with forward-facing sonar, we can look out over 100 feet, so it makes catching crappies incredibly easy. They're super vulnerable.
It's kind of an interesting intersection of the potential implications of this sonar technology that we're interested in trying to characterize and quantify today.
You might think that my concern about their concern is a little bit sensitive, but the problem is if we open the doorway to things like this, someone we don't want is going to walk through the doorway. And it could be the people that are anti-fishing hearing that there's exploitive techniques and technology, I should say, coming into the game, or it could be regulation coming in with not the correct basis for removing technology like that from fishing, which is a terrifying thing because Livescope is the coolest, most informative educational tool to come along in fishing. It is saving the fishing industry right now. It is bringing kids into fishing. Kids have technology at their fingertips everywhere they turn. If there's a crusty, ignorant angler that prefers to beat the bank and enjoy the mystery of fishing, that's totally fine. But kids these days want to see their lure coming to the boat. They want to have tools and technology at their fingertips to enjoy fishing in every way. You are able to find fish on featureless flats on slow days and put something together and catch half a limit or a limit on a regular basis. On a lot of days where it'd be really slow. But it is not some exploitive thing where it's just a guaranteed 1,000 fish every day. You look at the Bassmaster Classic that was just won by Jeff Gustafson, he didn't even fill a limit. So he's fishing for smallmouth bass deep with Livescope, and he only caught 12 of a possible 15 keepers to win the tournament. That does not sound like a technology that is coming in and sweeping fish populations and wrecking stuff. I spent time last summer with Livescope on a stand-up paddleboard, picking across 12, 15-foot basins and individual panfish covering very little water because Livescope just lets you dissect everything that's around you. That's the future of fishing. The future of fishing is not what the fishing industry is selling most of the time. It is not a $100,000 truck with a $100,000 boat with thousands of dollars of rods and reels with hundreds of dollars of gas being burnt. That is not the future of fishing. So the price tag for several $1,000s of Livescope might seem intimidating and might seem outrageous, but when you pair it with a canoe or a 9.9 horsepower motor, you're talking about a much more responsible and ethical approach to fishing, and that is the future of fishing. So any messaging that is unwarranted about technology that's a problem is terrifying because it will get spoken into existence. So moving on to the actual barotrauma topics. Basically, the point of the study is to simulate an angler caught crappie situation and then see what the mortality rate is on these fish. What you observe is that where the anglers are fishing is 80 or 100 feet away from where they are holding and observing the crappies. So right off the bat, they're catching these crappies, and rather than release them immediately, the way that an angling situation would work, they're putting them in a pail and they're carrying them about a minute or so, 80 or 100 feet to the study area. Now, the biologist, or whoever the guy doing the actual science, as they would call it, is he's measuring the fish, which is completely unnecessary. Whether the fish is 10 inches or 11 inches for the point of the study does not matter. So he's doing extra handling time, measuring this fish. Then he trims off a portion of the tail, which apparently is an acceptable method of marking a fish, but when you're talking about a crappie that's got 100% of its energy to work with, and he's using up, let's say, 75% of his energy in the fight. Now you take him out of the water, one picture is 76% gone, another picture, 77% gone, another picture, 78% gone, a measurement, now you're at 79, 80, 81% gone. This fish might need 5 or 10% of its energy left to get back down to the bottom. So the more that you mess with it, the less chance it has of getting down to the bottom. This is very, very real. So if the fish has limited energy, and now you've decided to trim the tail of the fish, the tail is the main source of propulsion for swimming. And you've taken off 10 or 15% of the tail now of this fish that's already gonna have trouble swimming back down to the bottom. And then the fish were in this net and they showed footage of the crappies trying to swim back down and of course, hitting the edge of the net. It's a cylinder net. The fish are hitting the edge of the net. So that percentage I was talking about, how the fish is at like 80% of its energy used, 81%, 82%, if that fish makes an attempt to go down and hits the net, now that fish is at 85, 86, 87, 88% used of its energy. So it's got a very limited amount of energy left. And when a fish wants to revive and swim away, it is not swimming straight down. And they would know this if they paid attention to their Livescope, because it can be an educational tool more than anything, is the fish often swims for 50, 60, 70, 80, 90 feet before it's even dropped down 10 or 15 feet as it's reviving and getting back down to depth to its comfort zone. So putting it in this cylinder is why these fish have no chance of living. But the problem is that they all are expecting the fish to die anyways. So none of them are analytically thinking about any of these variables seemingly. So out of 50 fish that they put in this net, 38 of them were unreleasable, which is a mortality rate of 76%. About 15 years ago, we transferred 50 crappies. So the same number we just mentioned, 50 crappies that were caught from 25 to 30 feet of water, so similar depth of water. And it was in late October. We fin clipped every fish so that these fish weren't struggling and upside down all day. And at the end of the day, when we transferred and released them, 1 out of 50 didn't swim away. So we're talking about the difference between a 76% reported mortality in their study to my own recollection of a 2% mortality when it's 1 out of 50. I want you to know that if there is a mortality attached to barotrauma or there is an exploitive nature attached to Livescope, I want to discuss it. But if either of those things are being overstated, it is very dangerous to us as anglers and our rights moving forward. So today the goal is to go get a sample size of crappies from deeper water than they fished in the study, being deeper than 32 feet, and then see how many mortalities I have compared to their 38 unreleasable crappies. That will be today's contribution to science. Stay tuned.
All right, so we're gonna do a little procedure today, just for research purposes.
The old-fashioned way of just looking for old holes is pretty effective too. There's a reckoning coming. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. Dun 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 dun. We got almost 38 feet, some nice marks near the bottom here that are deeper than 32, which is what I wanted. I need 12 fish, well, 12 releases below 32 feet, and we'll see how many deaths associated with that. Okay, this is a minnow style bait. I'm gonna start with a big option like this on a little jig for one presentation, and then on the other one, just a little bug imitation. This is a little Indestructo spike from Frostbite. I'm gonna put that on a 5mm tungsten jig. So I got the 1-2 punch of a little buggy thing and a minnow. And that should be all it takes. I always like starting with the big option. It's just faster to fish and we'll weed out the larger fish, which is typically the goal of us anglers when we're out angling. Lots of fish down there. Look at how deep they are. This is perfect.
I'm only going to catch fish that are specifically deeper than 32 feet to make sure that I'm getting in that other realm deeper than was studied. So I've passed by 28, I've passed by 30, I'm going down to below 34. See that big mark on the left? Oh, there's one intercepting me, but I want to go to that big mark on the left. And then we're gonna go over the 5 keys. This fish is deeper than 34 feet. Okay, the 5 keys to deep water crappie fishing. Did I friggin' lose him? Where is he? Am I not on the ice? I lost him. No, I didn't. Am I not? Something weird was going on. We got the fish. Here we go. There he is. Okay. Here are the 5 keys to deep water catch and release crappie fishing. The first one, as we've talked about, is to avoid it altogether, or catch your limit and go home. But if there's unknowns and delayed mortality, just avoid deep water crappie fishing. If you end up doing some deep water crappie fishing, the key number 2 is release it immediately. So at this point, this has been representative of taking a couple of pictures. It's time to get back in the water. This fish wants to be down 35 feet where it just came from. That leads us to key number 3, which is making sure that the air that could be trapped in its mouth is escaped. So I'm gonna put the fish in reversed. The air just came out. Key number 4, close the mouth, turn the fish over. So the fish is ready to be released. There goes the fish. Key number 5 is to use the Livescope to confirm whether you've had a successful release. There he is. He's 17 feet down. And the further he goes, the easier it's going to be for him to get down. There he goes, pulse. He's still very close to below me because he's escaping the beam constantly. Where is he? Where is he? Where is he? There he is. Still doing well. I'm gonna have to open the range a bit more. He's still making his way down. Now he's at 25 feet, 27 feet. This fish is down in the happy zone around those other crappies. So there you go. Freaking expedite that release. We've been talking about this for the entire existence of uncut angling. Get the fish back in the water. There needs to be a sense of urgency to your releases. It's not like those old school fishing shows where they hold the fish up like a prop for 2, 3, 4 minutes and don't relay the feeling to the viewer that that fish belongs in the water and needs to get back in the water. I'll get another one and show you. Frostbite mini slayer. Deadly. Okay, this is perfect. Those fish there are sitting below 34 feet. This will be another 35-foot capture. See the one on the left there, coming up to him. Okay, here he comes. Got another one, deeper than 34. This is a 35-foot deep crappie, which according to all science and all old head thoughts on the process, should be a dead fish. He's even got the buggy eyes as an indicator of barotrauma there. You can see that quite clearly, but helping him along with a gentle release here. All the air is out of his mouth there. See that? Now I'm gonna close his mouth, making sure he didn't get any snow or ice chips in there. Turn him over. I still got his mouth closed. And there he goes. It's really important that he gets going on that first kick and isn't slowed down because he needs to use all his momentum to get back down to the bottom. So I'm gonna give it a spin here and I can see him there. He is 7 feet down, 8 feet down. It's just gonna get easier and easier for him. So even though he's a little bit slow getting there, the further he goes down, the easier it is to swim because the air bladder gets compressed. And now you see he just made a bunch of progress there. In that study the DNR in Minnesota did, they were stopping the fish against the netting in their cage. The fish was losing its strength and momentum and it didn't have enough energy to keep trying and to get down to bottom. That's 2 successful releases. We need 10 more. Here we go, get back down there. Oh, here comes another one. He came out of 34 feet. Oh, I had him the whole time. Oh, this is a smaller one, so it's gonna give us a chance to see how the small fish reacts. I mean, I can already give you a spoiler alert that it shouldn't be an issue. Oh, he got off, come here, come here. Okay, little guy, time for a picture. We wanna get him back in the water, but we have time for a photo. I'm gonna put him in the water. All that air comes out, flip him over, close his mouth. And there he goes. Zip, 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 zip. Let's see if we can find him here. There he is. He's already 18 feet down. So that little fish had no problem whatsoever. 22 feet down, 25 feet down, 27, 28 feet down. No problem whatsoever. 3 crappies successfully released, 9 more to go. This mark is starting below 34 feet. Did he eat it and I didn't feel it? No. Keep coming. Such a subtle bite, and I'm always lifting, partly because they want that motion of it moving away from them, but also just to help you feel the bite. Boom! Head spinner jig in his mouth there. Put him back in the water. Get the air out. Close his mouth. Turn him over. There he goes. Wow, he seems so happy. There he is. 18 feet down. Still kicking, still kicking. 24 feet down, 25 feet down, 26 feet down, 27 feet down. That is crappie number 4, successfully released out of 35 feet of water. What we're doing right now is, in the matter of 10 minutes, we have just dispelled all science just like that. So there's this attitude that all regulation and management has to be done through science, and the indigenous way of doing things historically, which is just by observation, storytelling, comparing experiences, has no place in management. Meanwhile, science is such a tricky freaking thing. If science was perfect, yes, it would be the best way of doing things, but it is so filled with errors. We're showing that right now. We are disproving
Billions and billions and billions
of dollars of studies, and the reason probably is they're going into these studies thinking they know the answer already. They think that barotrauma is an issue, and then completely against the purpose of a scientific process, they're trying to confirm what they already know, whereas you're not supposed to be so biased coming into it, because if you are, you're just gonna go out there and confirm your own bias. He's gonna eat me higher up here, but he started at 34, so it still counts as a fish over 34. Got him. Okay. Little guy, cool. Close his mouth, turn him over. There he goes. Looks like he went to the side. Let's see if he actually went down or not. There he is. He's already, you see him pulsing there? 17 feet, 20 feet, 22 feet, 24 feet, 26 feet, and he's at 30. Okay, go back down. Oh, hit the clicker. 5 fish. We need 7 more healthy releases so we can compare to the 38 deaths that the Minnesota DNR had with their 12 healthy releases in their barotrauma study. And they were fishing shallower than I was fishing. I'm gonna bypass that fish at 30 on the right because I want to get down to the deeper ones. So I gotta sneak by this guy. No, 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 no. Okay, I'm gonna go to the smaller bait because it feels like I've kind of spoiled these ones. And maybe I can do everything out of one hole to reinforce the point that Livescope is not the enemy. Right now, we pulled up, drilled one hole. We're right in the middle of this little basin. I mean, really any depth mapping gives you such a leg up to know where to start for bays and crappies and for targeting fish in general. And a flasher right now to show us where off the bottom these fish were and to present to them is everything. Like, as in the Livescope, the only advantage it's giving us is allowing us to know whether the fish swam back down. So the Livescope is just acting like a conservation tool right now, aside from the enjoyment of being able to actually see their movements better than you would on a flasher and count the fish. And oh, I hope we can get this one on the left. He's coming out of 37 feet if he comes over. And he's coming over oh so slowly. Yep, now he's at 36 down. He's still creeping in. He's still creeping in. Just barely moving the jig. Here he is. Oh, got him. This is from 37 feet. That little tungsten jig with a bug imitation. Little fish. Little guy. See a little bug in his mouth? Maybe that's why I couldn't get him on the bigger bait. Sometimes they'll still whack it. Get that jig out of there. Put him in the water. Get the air out of his mouth. Close his mouth. And away he goes. Where is he? There he is. Right there. 14 feet, 15 feet, 16 feet, 18 feet, 20 feet. More air bubbles coming out of him. I don't know if that's actually coming out of his belly or caught in his gill filaments or something, but I will say there's obviously a place for science, especially if it's done right. But the arrogance of the current climate on how regulation and management is done is astounding, because what they're presuming is that all their science is foolproof, and the reality is like very little of it is foolproof. So if you could sit down with a panel of experts, the experience and knowledge that you could glean from them would be so far ahead of all of the ridiculous money and efforts you throw at science. You're using students and professors that have spent so much more time in books and classrooms than they have out in the field. There is countless people with a biology degree. There's only one of me. I mean, that might be a little bit over the top. There's only few of me, I should say. 6 successful releases. That one was out of 37 feet. Beautiful. These fish are sitting to the left and they will creep over. It is so slow, but you just be patient and wait. Jiggle, jiggle, jiggle. Really, the best thing you can do is a combination of experts in the field and scientists to keep each other in check for different reasons, really. Here comes another one. Did I miss him? Oh, he's on. Man, it's hard to feel down there. Like, we're down there. We're in the deep deeps. This is out of 34 feet. It feels like it might be the biggest one. What do we got? Oh, it's pretty nice. It's pretty nice. Yeah, I think that's the biggest one. A very nice crappie. A little tungsten right in the roof of the mouth there. Make sure all the air comes out of his mouth. And then close his mouth, turn him over, and set him free. Goodbye! Okay, where is he? There he is. He is 10 feet down. He is 12 feet down. Notice how far to the side he is swimming. Not just straight down. He needs that almost runway to swim down there. 17 feet, 18 feet, 19 feet, 20 feet, 24 feet, 25 feet. He's down there. He's gone. Did we click that one? I don't think I did. So that's 7 successful releases. Should I move? Do I move? Should I move? Do I move? Should I move? I'm looking. I'm panning to the side. Panning to the side. I mean, I'm seeing fish all over. I don't know whether I'm going to have a huge advantage to moving to them. They're in the distance way over there, but those look like smaller marks. So I think I'm just going to hang out here and wait for them to swim back over. So in this case, I'm actually using the Livescope as a confirmation that I'm fine to stay in this hole. Ironically, you know, it's not like I'm using the Livescope to spot some super vulnerable fish and just go pound the crap out of them that they would never be caught otherwise. It's like I'm literally staying in the same spot with the Livescope because I've looked around, there isn't much around, so I am using it as a tool, but I wouldn't say it's as an exploitive danger to the fishery tool. It's just too much irony right now, too much. So he's eating it at about 34 here, but he had originally come from 35, 36. Such a tough bite to feel in that deep of water. The way a crappie eats so subtly. Come on, little guy. Okay, so fun. Ha 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 ha. I've taken my pictures. I'm gonna be famous on social media. It's so exciting. I can limit my pictures though. I don't need to change my hat and then change the pose and then, oh, let's try one like this. Let's try one like this. How do I look? Let's look at the pictures. Let's do some more. At the end of it, most of these people are taking photos that are out of focus anyways after all that. Okay, mouth is open. Air bubbles are out. Turn them over. Close the mouth. And there he goes. Goodbye. Gotta find him here. 12 feet down already. 22 feet. 25 feet. That is 8 successful releases out of about 35, 36 feet of water. Drop down here. 35 foot. 36 foot. The lower one's at 36 foot. This is gonna be quick. Oh, hard bite. Not a big fish. Another misconception is bringing them up too fast. I mean, I think some people have talked about how that really doesn't make a difference, and it definitely doesn't make a difference because as a percentage, the difference between bringing them up in 10 seconds or 20 seconds, as a percentage, that really doesn't matter when it takes probably hours to change the amount of air in their swim bladder naturally. So whether you bring them up in 10 or 20 seconds, it really doesn't make a difference. Let's move. Let's move quick. That's what we'll do. We'll move quick. All right. Bingo. Okay, well, there's not much around, but there might be a couple. Okay, well, there's a couple consistent marks. 10, 15 feet this way. Got a perfect fall on this mark. Still one over here. This one's inching closer, inching closer. Oh, all of a sudden his energy changed and he lunged. Crazy. He moved so slow for so long. Come on, we need you. Is that a nice one? It's pretty nice. There we go. Crappie number 10. Let's go see if we can get a good release on him. Dun, 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 dun. Definitely running out of time. Okay. Ooh, he's hooked deep too. Cumulative effects going on here. We got the hook out though. He's got some snow in his mouth there that hopefully I can get out with the air. And close his yap. Turn him around. Oh, he had lots of energy. Let's see where he is. 22 feet. Oh, look at that dust trail behind him. Oh, he's struggling. He's struggling just with that little bit of extra out of the water time. Going over to get the camera, going over to get the scoop. And you can see how much longer it's taking him to get to depth. Now he's going though. He just made a good progress. Like I said, this all started with avoid deep water fishing. So there's definitely going to be the odd fish that gets partway down and then could float up under the ice. You see it in the boat when you're fishing, when a fish will float up. But now he's down 14. I'm going to keep watching him. 22 feet, he's still trying. At this point, I'm still a little worried about this fish just because he was slow getting down there, but now he's over 25. He's happy. I'm just going to keep watching him a little bit, although I do want to get down there and see more marks. I have a chance to hit 12 still. There we go, I'm at 10. We're going to call that a successful release. She's friendly, but she's a little nuts.
Any fish there or what?
I caught one. There's a few more. I didn't catch any more yet, though.
That sled there.
Oh, how it's all loaded up?
Yeah.
The best is this sleeve for the auger because then I'm just like this. And this rack is actually built for quads, like similar to the thing you have.
Yeah.
And I just slapped it on the back there.
What do you have, camcorder on?
Yeah, you're going to be on YouTube if you go over there.
You have the Livescope?
Yeah. Have you used that before?
No, but
It's insane. Here, I'll show you. There's one or two over there. That is 16 feet that way.
16 feet that way?
Yeah. So watch, you're gonna see my auger come through right here because I'm gonna go drill right over top of them. So they're at 16 feet. So watch how bang on I'm gonna hit this. Just eyeballing it. You watch the screen. And I see the line. And I'm just guessing that that's 14, 16 feet. How close was I?
Pretty much on them.
Pretty much on them?
Yeah.
Yeah. A lot of it is you chase them around and it's, you know, you could just sit in the same spot and they'll swim over to you.
Do you keep them?
No, not right now. If one dies, I'll keep it, but otherwise I'm not keeping it. If you just like take a second and close their mouth, they will swim away pretty good.
Yeah. All right, bud, I'll let you get at it.
Okay, have a great day. Need both those two fish. 33 and a half, still very deep. Oh, yes. Yes, 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 yes. Come on. Little guy. Cool. And you know, I haven't really caught a big crappie. That's one outstanding question is, does size matter? And would a larger fish be more susceptible to barotrauma? And there he goes. Zipped away. There he is. Sorry, 12 feet down, 14 feet down, 24 feet down, 25 feet down, 26 feet down. The thing about a large fish, they end up getting handled more. They get to be social media stars, and that is why there is more of a problem with releasing fish. I've experienced that firsthand and learned my lesson quite a few times, is those big fish, you can have a problem with getting them to swim back down. So it all comes back to the basic principles. Avoid fishing deep water. If you're going to be fishing deep water, get the fish back down in the water as fast as you can. 11. Phoenix, do you want a piece of pizza? Okay, sit. Sit. Good girl. Hey. Good girl. Another one? Huh? Yep. Good girl. 3 for 3. We need one more. Yeah. It's me fish number 12. Right here. Not a great signal right now. I don't know if there's bugs and crap coming up off the bottom because of the time of day or something. But there's one right there, closing the gap. My movements are so slow. I'm not experimenting with different cadences or anything. I know I'm drawing him in very gently. If I were to start flicking it around and trying things to rush the pace, I might spook him away. But as it is now, he's just inching in, inching in. Oh, yes, 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 yes. Oh, sweet. Please, please, please. I don't know if it's big, but yeah, it's gotta be big. It's fighting hard. This has gotta be big. Oh, it's our biggest fish of the day. We were just talking about how big fish are gonna react differently. And there's our biggest crappie of the day. Manitoba Master Angler, probably about a 12-incher, 12.5-incher. Awesome. We'll get him back down using the same methodology that we've been talking about. Their mouth definitely gets cocked open just with the nature of holding it this way. It's almost like their jaw gets locked open and then seals on the back so that air can get trapped in there. So you get the air out and close the mouth. Tip them over. Oh, the fish was very happy. We're very ready to get out of here. And there he goes. Down. 20 feet down, 22 feet down. All right, we got 12 successful releases out of 12 fish. But once again, that does not mean I'm suggesting you should be targeting deep water fish. There is a higher chance of delayed mortality and unknowns, especially if you don't have a Livescope or a forward-facing sonar, which is ironic because there is some speculation that it's a threat to vulnerable populations, and if anything, it should potentially be a mandatory tool for monitoring the releases, knowing what's going on down there. And if you do see some fish that aren't releasing so well, then you know you're in a situation you should probably get the freak out of there. But I think we all learned a lot today and kind of shed some light on future management practices and relying on expert field knowledge rather than just solely science. So we're going to do some more management type videos and review of regulation in the coming weeks. So stay tuned. Thanks for watching Echo Angling. Good night.
Are we rolling? Sounds clean. All right, so we're gonna get them right back into water, but just gonna do a real simple procedure here. Gonna insert a chip into this burbot for tracking purposes. We just use local anesthetic. All right, chip. Got Stag in the line assisting me here today. And then a microchip. Oh. Yeah, that's better. Perfect. All right. There we go. We gotta act quick, just minimize stress here and get them back in the water. There you go, buddy. Barbecue. All right. Okay. Feels great to be a part of the effort to just understand this like more fully, the dynamics and what's going on down there. So if we catch that fish again, we will know that that's our chip. So cool. Gotta love science. All right, over and out.